What's going on, motivators? If you saw my last video, I'm now bringing you the video that I promised, which is going over the actual Reconsideration of Value worksheet. Now, this is what you're going to use if you need to dispute a VA appraisal, and I'm going to break it down for you in this video. If you are working with an appraisal that came under value, or you just want to know more about VA loans, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my page, or send me a DM through my contact info, and we can chat more about this process and how it works for you. Now let's go directly into the sheet that I have right here. Now, if you'll notice, this is what we're looking at. So this is a Reconsideration of Value worksheet, and now we are going to ask the agents, you're a real estate agent, or if you are a real estate agent, you will be filling this out. And these are some of the things that we are going to be considering for a reconsideration of value. All right. First off, at the top, where it says subject right here. Now this column is for the subject property. What that means is that's the property that you are currently buying. That's the property that came in under value, and we're going to compare at least 3 comparable sales. What does that mean? Well, as we went over in the last video, these are properties that are fairly similar to the one that you are currently looking at, which is the subject property. So here we have the address. We put in the address, comparable sale number 1. We would put 123 Big Walkway or whatever it is, and so on and so forth for the next ones. Proximity to subject. Now, this is important because we're going to want that property to be within a mile radius. Unless you're in a really rural area, it's typical that you will find several properties within a mile radius that have sold within a reasonable time frame. Now down here, we're going to have the sale price. We're going to have the GLA, which is the gross living area. Most of the time posted in square feet. You can get this pretty easily by looking up online. If it's a property that's sold recently, it should be available for you as well. Data source and verification source. Now, don't worry too much about these columns right here. I don't see too many people filling this out. But if you take a look, notice one of the first things that they ask is the date or sale at the time, when it was sold, because it has to be within a year for them to even consider it, and preferably within 6 months. Now, if it's outside of that time frame, it's considered in a different market, and they really won't take too much of a look at it, and they really won't consider it too much. Now, the majority of properties out there are all fee simple. So this column right here, leasehold or fee simple, that's automatically kind of filled in for you, and you don't really have to worry too much about that. Site and view, don't pay too much mind for that, but design, the style, you don't want to have like a high ranch being compared to like a Cape Cod or a colonial. You would like them to all be in a similar style. Quality of construction, this just means it was used to construct it, and this is something you can also find out as well. Age, when was the property built? This is going over, how many beds, how many baths. You don't want to compare a 4-bedroom house with 2 baths to a 3-bedroom house with 1 bath. You're probably not going to have a good time if you do that. They're not going to look at it positively. We're going to look at the basement, whether it's finished or not. Take a look at the utilities, the heating, the cooling, porch, patio, all these things down here are pretty self-explanatory. I don't need to go into it too much, but here are some main factors I want you to consider. When you're selecting comp, you want the proximity of the subject property to be less than a mile away. And as I said, you want it to have sold within the last 6 months. Those 2 things are major keys to success, as DJ Khaled would say. Now your bedroom to bath ratio, I mentioned that as well. You don't want to compare a 4 bedroom with 2 baths to a 3-bedroom with 1 bath, so on and so forth. You want to find them somewhat similar. If it's a 4-bed with 2 baths and you're comparing it to a home that's 4 bedrooms with 1.5 bathrooms, not a big deal. Or if you have a 6-bedroom house you're comparing to a 5-bedroom house, not a big deal again. But you want to kind of stay as close as possible, and keeping that in mind as well, gross living area will come into that. Square footage of the house is a really big factor as well. You don't want to compare a house that's 3,000 square feet to a 2,000 square foot house. But if you're at 2,700 square feet and that's your subject property, and maybe you're comparing it to a 2,900 square feet property, that's considered close enough, if you will. And as I said before, same type or similar, right? You don't want a Cape Cod being compared to a high ranch. Now, there are times where you might have like a ranch being compared to a high ranch, or so on and so forth. You might have some of those, but for the most part, if you're looking at a Cape Cod, you want it to be compared to other Cape Cods, or colonials to other colonials. And also, similar year built. If you're comparing a home that you're purchasing that was built in 1963 to one that was built in, I don't know, say 2007, Well, there's a completely different adjustment made for homes that are newer versus ones that are older. So anyways, I hope this helped you to understand a little bit more about the reconsideration of value process. If you ever find yourself in one of these circumstances, make sure you reach out to me. I'm a veteran mortgage advisor. I'm licensed in multiple states, too many to list off for this video. I'd just bore you, but chances are I can help you out. As always, if you found this information helpful, comment and subscribe to my page. Stay motivated. Let's go.